on with y'all? Jay Myrax from Altruwest.com. Back once again. Appreciate y'all for tapping in. You know we do these podcasts, the Altruwest Music Production Podcast, every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central. And that is 2 p.m. West Coast time. That's what's up, man. I appreciate y'all for tapping in as always. Much love to everybody out there that's tapping in. You see the title? We talking about the, I think MPCs are on a fire sale right now, y'all. Y'all seen these? MPCs having a little bit of a fire sale. So we're going to talk about that today. You see the title though. Akai MPC Live III and the Great MPC Sell Off. Are the MPC Live II and the MPC Live I still relevant? We're going to get into that today. Let me know in the comments though. Let me know in the chat. Is the MPC Live II, the Live I, the MPC One, One Plus, is all that stuff still relevant, or is it time to move on? Is it time to move away from that, move forward, you know, progress with technology, as some like to say it? Are we at that point now? Let me know. All right, so yeah, we're gonna get cracking in just a moment, but yeah, man, let me know how y'all doing out there in the chat, man. Hope all is well with y'all. Hope y'all having a good week so far. You know, we're gonna let a few more people pile in, and we're gonna get started in just a moment, man. So I appreciate y'all for hanging tight and chopping it up. You know, that's what we're doing. Yeah. Say what's up to some folks in here. LD40 Productions, what's going on with you? Upbeat Media, my moderator. Shout out to Upbeat Media for directing traffic each week. So pay attention to the chat, as Upbeat Media is providing helpful links and helpful information in the chat as we get through this hour. We will be doing our hour of podcasting here, and then we'll move over to the after show afterwards on Twitch. But just pay attention to the commentary and the directions of Upbeat Media as we get through this. So appreciate Upbeat Media as always for helping out with these streams and helping us to keep order in the chat. And like I said, it's a community, man. We're not running no dictatorship here. It's just simple, man. You know, be respectful and show love to each other in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Like, be helpful to each other. This ain't about dog piling on each other. I had to get some information from a past couple streams ago. I looked like some folks was dog piling on one of my community members, JP, man. So yeah, man, we could talk to each other about, you know, whatever, but let's make sure we don't dog. Like, this is a community, and we showing love to each other. We showing support. We're building each other. This is the community that I want is going to help each other out with information. We're not going to try to tear each other down just because we think we know something more than someone else. So, you know, salute to everybody that participates in these. But yeah, man, you know, let's be respectful to each other, and you're welcome to disagree. And if you got some other thoughts and ideas, share them. And you don't have to tear somebody else's ideas down just to share your thoughts. So yeah, man. Shout out to my members, my True Sound Creators, my True Sound Creator Plus and Studio Guest Pass 4K members. Gird Up International Ministries, one of my True Sound Creators, man. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Hope all is well. Dope Beat Dan, what's good with you? Jack Bauer, what's good with you? Key Flow, what's good with you, fam? One of the early sound designers that I worked with in my career over at Native Instruments. Shout out, man. Salute. DJ Cool Breeze, another True Sound Creator. Salute. West. 89106, West. Mike Deasy, salute. Mr. Spacely, a true West Coaster, man. Appreciate you for hanging out as always. Salute. DJ Loop Beats, another True Sound Creator. Appreciate you. Hold on. We got some. Okay. We got some issues. Have to check and make sure what's going on. Okay, we're having some issues. It's all good. We'll stay locked in. Yeah. Yeah, DJ Loop Beats, what's good with you? DJ Skills, the Beat Bully, what's going on with you, fam? Mr. What's good, fam? DJ Skills, the Beat Bully says, owner of the 2000 XL Live II, OGX, and now the Live 3. All are relevant to me. No plans to sell any of them. That's what's up, man. I like to hear that, man. That's commitment right there. Born Shamir, another true sound creator. Salute, fam. Born Shamir been getting it cracking, man. I see you've been doing some of that processing, like we've been talking about, some of that analog signal processing into the MPC to get that sound, man. So salute to Born Shamir. Aaron Chandler, what's good, homie? Get it, Nard, another true sound creator. West. Raul, what's going on, fam? Appreciate you for tapping in as always. So yeah, just a couple other short announcements. Yeah, we of course, my true sound creators know we've been doing some updates and whatnot in the members only. And if you're looking to become a member, I do recommend that you become a member of the channel. This is a good way to support the channel, and also there's some really good information. The stream we did last night was pretty good. I think it'll help a lot of people with studio organization and new options and opportunities. So salute to my true sound creators. But I do recommend, if you're interested in becoming a true sound creator, that you join today. Our membership includes the following. We have True Sound Creator, which is our entry-level membership, which includes all the loyalty badges, emojis, photo status updates, early access to new and archives is over 80 hours of archival footage now. Members only live chats, discounts on my ebook, The Sound Mind, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and a discount on the Amplify plugin from Divided Souls. DJ Loopy's good. Appreciate you on the super chat. I'm glad that the members only content yesterday was good and that it helped. That's what we're talking about. Yes, sir. True Sound Creator Plus, second level. You get discounts on merch from Altruwest.com, discounts from sample packs from MSX Sound Design, member shoutouts, priority reply to comments, discounts on sample packs from The Produce Market by Snipe Young, and all the previous perks from True Sound Creator. And then if you want to see some inside footage, 4K multicam studio footage of sessions, recordings, and whatnot, as I post them into the Studio Guest Pass 4K, that's where you'll see those. I won't be posting full-length studio footage on my main channel, but you can become a member and you can check that out. So I recommend, if you want to see that kind of content, that's where you can see it. And if you are interested in leveling up your craft and really understanding the opportunities and the tools of the trade that will help you to become an even more powerful and successful producer, sound designer, and audio expert or audio technician, check out my ebook, The Sound Mind, exclusively on Altruwest.com. This is an ebook that I wrote that has some strategies, tips, tricks, mindset, and protocols that have been used by me over the past 20 years as a music producer, credited music producer that has done a number of placements on television and film, as well as a 20-year career as a sound designer in music tech for companies like Yamaha and for Native Instruments. If you're interested in the information around the strategies, the tools, the techniques, and things that I used around in my career over that time span, check out this book. This is a good one. This one has things about sound design. It has things about keyboard playing. It has things about like really monetizing your audio. Like there's a wealth of information, over 120 pages of information in this book. I do recommend, if you're interested in that next level, check it out. And of course, if you're a true sound creator, any level of true sound creator membership, you get a discount, a very good discount on the ebook, but it is available exclusively at Altruwest.com. Upbeat Media will post we'll post a link to where you can get the Sound Mind. All right, we are through with the sponsored announcements. This is brought to you. These messages were brought to you by Altruwest.com. That's because we got to support ourselves in the end. So appreciate y'all for hanging in. But yeah, man, Akai MPC Live III has been the talk of the town. We see it. We see it. But is the talk of the town now a cause for you to sell your MPC Live or your One? And for those of you that don't have an MPC at all, is this the perfect time for you to get an MPC Live II, One, MPC One? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So, my thoughts here, with the release of the MPC Live III, it just very well may be the perfect time if you were thinking about getting an MPC to get an MPC Live II, a One, or one of the other previous models that are currently being disregarded by many MPC users that are looking to upgrade. And there's quite a few of them. I've seen quite a few folks that said, I'm going to sell my whole studio to get this, and I'm going to sell this, and I'm going to sell that. And it's very interesting to see how people are engaging now that this new device is out. And this is nothing new, right? It's nothing new. This happens with MPCs and synths when there is a shift in the market, when there's something new that comes out that people are interested in. It's very common. In the late 90s, when many producers were moving towards workstations and MIDI capable digital synths and old analog synths like Moogs and stuff like that, a lot of that stuff were becoming out of fashion, and they were being sold at heavy discounts on the used market. It's pretty common. That was happening in the 90s. So you could find some of those vintage analog synths for super cheap back then. Similarly, MPCs and drum machines and samplers, like not just MPCs, like MVs, all that stuff, that experienced quite a bit of that same type of market behavior around, I would say, between 2009 and 2013, let's say. You could find like an MPC 3000 back in that era for under $1,000. I remember seeing them like 600, 700 bucks. And I was like, yo, crazy, right? Because everybody was moving over to software solutions back then. It was like everybody's trying to get on a DAW or trying to get on Machine, or, trying to move over to whatever they felt was moving forward with technology. And truth be told, I wish I would have purchased the MPC 3000 during that period in retrospect. But I was kind of already set with my 2000 XL and my S3000 by 2013. That's what I had in my setup. And then I later got my 4000 back as well. So, let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this used market for a second. I think that would be a good thing. Let's check this out. So we're gonna slide over and check out the used market real quick. So reverb. Here's a MPC Live II. This is a mint condition one, right? Mint condition. When we say mint condition, box and everything, like packaging, everything there, 710 bucks. 710 bucks plus shipping, right? Amazing, considering now if you don't have one and you're looking for something that does a lot of stuff still, you can get this MPC Live standalone that still has the battery and the touchscreen and all the stuff. We're going to talk about that, all the little features and stuff it has, but 710 bucks, right? That's a pretty massive deal, I would say. Let's look at some other stuff. MPC One, for example. Okay, MPC One Plus, right? The One Plus. Here's one for $460. This is excellent condition. Still got the box and all that stuff, looking good. It doesn't look like it's been abused. It looks in very, very good condition. I would say, yes, definitely excellent condition. $460. So when we look at this used market now, it's like, well, you can find an MPC now, like that does a whole lot of stuff for under $500. This is an amazing opportunity right now for someone that has not already committed to an MPC. So I think this might be a good time, because let's talk about, like, let's just start with the MPC. Let's look at the Live, right? Feature wise, right? This is the Live. It's no longer on sale. You see that here on Sweetwater. It's no longer available. But let's still look at the feature set, right? Let's just look at hardware. It's still got the 16 MPC pads. It's still got the Q links. Let's look at the I/O. I/O is super important to me when we start talking about MPCs, and we'll get further into that. But you still got the 6 outputs, plus the headphone outs, plus the phono in, plus line inputs, plus the MPC special, which is the 2 MIDI out, 2 MIDI in, multiple USB ports, and Ethernet. This is still a very stacked device in terms of I/O. If we look at it from the comparison of comparing it to like an MPC 1000, for example, right? If we compare it to a 1000, this is pretty stacked here. This does a lot. This still does a lot. Even though we gonna talk about the sound quality and stuff. I know some of y'all like, oh, it don't sound the same as the blah, blah, blah. Okay, we're gonna talk about that too, because there's solutions to that. But just looking at the feature set, it's like, it's still a very great and well featured device. You know, MPC Live, still, it's a 128 track MIDI plus 8 tracks of audio. That's, I mean, if we compare that to a 2000 XL or a 1000, I mean, come on. It's still a very well-functioned, well-featured sequencer. 2 gigabytes of RAM. Again, I'm still gonna compare it to like the old stuff. Like, you know, I had a 1000 that went up to 128 megabytes. This one has 2 gigabytes of RAM. I know people talk about the speed and all this stuff now, and it's like, this one's not as fast. You think the MPC 1000 and the 2000 XL were fast? The 60, you think any of that was fast? 2 gigabytes is plenty if you use it the right way. Plus 16 gigabytes onboard storage. Plus it can, you know, you can put SD cards in it and an SSD bay for extending the storage. So this is still pretty well featured. We talked about the USB and the I/O and whatnot. So other features, like this has a onboard looper, very advanced sampling engine, including like the phrase and loop-based chopping, sampling, key groups, and auto sampling functionality. It has 10 gigabytes of pre-installed content, 3 MPC plugins, and multi-sample key group instruments. This is a powerful instrument, regardless of whether a new device is kind of overshadowing it now. It's still a powerful device. It's still something there that you can get out of that and actually make some music with. 1996 says, did Akai Mafia get to you? No, I want to talk about this philosophically. We ain't talking about whether I like the sound of this device or not, because we'll get to that part too. But philosophically, this device is still more technically powerful than previous devices. So to act like now all of a sudden it's time to get rid of the other stuff. We gotta like really walk through this. We gotta walk through this. And the reality of it is power in a system is not just about a single device. It's not just about the power of just the device by itself, right? I know that's kind of how we're being trained now. We're being trained like, hey, Akai, please make my one machine as powerful as possible so I can do everything on this. But realistically, the power in a system doesn't need to be relegated to a single device. It can be much more powerful to dedicate separate devices for specific tasks. And this is why you'll commonly see like composers in the film domain and whatnot use multiple computers in their setup. They'll use multiple computers and something like VSL or something to connect all of it together. Or, even today, like streamers, even like, I mean, I consider myself a streamer as well. I don't consider myself a YouTuber. I'm more of a streamer. But even a lot of streamers today, whether you're streaming like, desktop streaming like I'm doing or whatnot, they use multiple computers. And it becomes more efficient to do so because right now I use one computer for streaming and my other computer for music production. And distributing the system allows me to have more focus and allows me to get better performance than trying to make everything happen on a single machine. Even though before I distributed things, I was trying to do it all on a single device, and my Mac Studio was able to do it. But at the same time, it has become even more efficient for me to separate the things and work with different devices that are dedicated. And I think this is a concept that may start to be lost with the current models of MPCs because people are trying to just cram everything into a single device. And I think over time, what will tend to happen is that cramming everything in that single device will start to cause a paradigm where some of the IO starts to become less relevant, right? Because this can do everything. So why do you need to communicate with the rest of the world, right? Because you got everything in one box. So do you need all that MIDI? Do you need all the CV? And do you need all the other components that are allowing you to get connectivity in the studio? That's the question. But I would say ultimately, when we just looked at the features and the functionality of the MPC Live, for example, all of that functionality, it was still way more powerful than MPC 1000, more powerful than the MPC 2000 XL, which are both devices that I previously owned, and I produced hundreds of released songs and music cues and even whole albums with both of those machines. And realistically, if you want more power and functionality out of an MPC One or MPC Live, there are plenty of options on those devices. Those devices are still capable of being connected to a host of things that will give you even more power, right? So one example, John Makes Beats just mentioned this is where I'm going. You can connect class compliant audio and MIDI interfaces to both the MPC One and the MPC Live. And that will greatly expand the connectivity and also the sound quality, for that matter, of those units. We talked about that on previous streams, and I have video dedicated to why I got rid of my MPC XSE, and I talk about that. But you can expand the MPC One and the MPC Live and the Live II via class compliant audio interfaces. And I'll recommend a couple, just so we can get the ball rolling. But I think if you can find a class compliant audio interface that has the IO that you need, that's what you should do. Let's look at one here. Let's look at one here. So one that I can recommend is the RME UCXII class compliant. It has a good amount of IO, including 2 microphone inputs. It'll give you a good amount of expandability as well. If you want to add something that has high quality, good sound, and some expansion options that will allow you to center the MPC in the studio, making the MPC really act as a centerpiece in the studio, whether you're on the live or the one, right? This is a good one. Now this might not be the one that you'd want to use if you were a live performer. Uh-oh. Hold on. What happened there? Did we lose power? Uh-oh. That was weird. That was really weird. Yeah, so this might not be the one that you'd want to use if you're performing live. This might be a little bit too big. So maybe another option could be like Babyface Pro here. This will still give you very high quality, gives you some good microphone inputs, line inputs, and expandability, and it's very portable. Another good option if you're trying to expand the sound of or improve the sound of an MPC Live or an MPC One or something like that, right? So you got some good options here. You got some good options. And of course, you know, with the RME stuff, you know, this is not a shameless plug. It's a real plug. If you want to check out RME site, rme-usa.com. If you're interested in getting any of these interfaces, you can use coupon code Altruwest and get 15% off the list prices here. So it's a good deal. Upbeat Media will put a link in the chat and some information about that so that you can get access to that if you are interested. But let's move forward. So I think either one of those are good options there, and they'll give you good conversion and give you a good amount of functionality that is expanding what you can do in your studio. Now, there are other options and other opportunities to expand what the MPC One, MPC Live, and Live II can do. So for example, let's talk about aftermarket mods, right? So if you don't want to carry around a separate audio interface, but you want some high quality sound, right? You want higher quality conversion, higher quality in IO. One thing that you can do is check out Blackline Audio, and they currently offer a MPC Live II mod. And let's kind of get into the MPC Live II mod just so we can be on the same page here. But what they're doing is it's a premium mod, so it focuses on 2 areas, the analog side and the digital side. So new high performance op amps on analog inputs and outputs, line inputs and outputs, new high grade signal path capacitors on analog inputs, improving the performance of the analog stage circuits makes a drastic difference for tracking, mixing, and mastering. Expect amazing microdynamics and space. And on the digital side, proprietary decoupling on all A to D and D to A converters. Okay, and they say our approach to converter decoupling reduces noise generated during the conversion process, leaving you with crisp, clear audio. So that is a modification that you can make to MPC Live currently for about 320 bucks. So if you got one of these secondhand lives, right? You get this for let's say 750 out the door, and then you add another 320 bucks, you got a high quality, very capable device now that will give you a much better sound and will still have all the features and functionality that we talked about with the sequencing, the sampling, the audio recording, and all that stuff, right? So this is an opportunity for you to get something that potentially will sound even better than what you can do right now with the MPC Live III for a lot less money, right? So that's another option that will help you to expand what you're doing with what you may already have or what may be available at a much lower price. But I also want to say this. Let's not forget about MIDI. Okay, let's not forget about MIDI. MIDI is, I think, a topic that seems to escape certain MPC users for whatever reason. And I made a post on Twitter the other day. I'll share it with you, and I'll link it in the chat actually. But I made this post. So I said MIDI is essentially a network protocol for music production. Getting an MPC and not using MIDI is like getting a network gateway or a router and not getting on the internet. Now, I want you to digest that, and I'm gonna post that. I'm gonna post a link to that in the chat. If you agree with that, repost that, retweet that. If you agree with that, retweet that. But this is what I'm thinking here. If you get an MPC and you don't use MIDI, you are missing out on a big part of the expansion opportunities that will help you to get around some of the limitations of the device itself. That's the whole point. MPC literally used to mean MIDI production center. MIDI being foundational to the whole MPC paradigm. It's not called MPC, it's not called MIDI Production Center anymore, but that was foundational to the MPC. Without the MIDI production part, you wouldn't have an MPC. So not using the MIDI on the MPC is crazy, and I think it's even crazier to start complaining about the MPC's power or the lack of power and RAM and other things that the MPC Live or Live II may not have, right? When you have MIDI. How do you think people used to get around like limitations of different devices? Like even if those that were on SP1200s and whatnot, we talked about that in a previous stream, like having two samplers and having the SP1200 MIDI'd up to the S950 so that you can play more samples and get more sample time and do a more expansive song with having a MIDI connection to expand your ability to produce and compose music now, right? So I would say you got to use MIDI if you're using an MPC. You can't sleep on that. Now, plugins are great they're great and they're portable, and you can load up a lot of stuff and get busy with the plugins in the modern MPC. So I think plugins have a great use in standalone, especially for a live performer. Like if you're a live performer, like if you're taking your MPC to a performance and you're going to perform solely off of that, and you don't want to have a whole bunch of other devices on stage, and you just want to be able to bang out on the pads and do the touchscreen effects and all the Q link knob stuff, having a single device makes sense. But for the studio guys, and let's be honest, a lot of us are studio guys. Let's not act like most of us are on stage performing. Like, I know that may be a dream for some of us, that might be an aspiration, but if we're being honest, a lot of us are studio producers, and that's okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. So in a studio environment, MIDI is the way to get around limitations on RAM and limitations on audio tracks, and of course, instrument limitations. I know that's one of the big value propositions of the current MPCs. It's like, oh, now you can load 16 plugins. Well, guess what? With your old MPC Live, with the Live II, because it had 2 MIDI outputs like built in, that automatically gives you the ability to address up to 32 separate instruments via MIDI. You hear me? 32, not 16. So when you said, oh, the old one could only access 8. No, the old one could access 8 plus 32. But you got to use MIDI to do so. Right? So if you can't get it done now with 40 instruments, then guess what? You can connect another class compliant MIDI device and expand and get even more MIDI outs, because realistically, the MPC Live has an 128 track MIDI sequencer. So essentially, if you're really wanting to get busy, you can have a class compliant MIDI interface that gives you 128 channels. Well, you get, on each MIDI output, you get up to 16 in and out, right? So all you need to do is connect a class compliant audio interface that has 8 MIDI ports, and now you got 128 separate places that you can address a instrument, external instruments. That's a big deal. I know some of y'all are trying to consolidate and try to push everything on one single device, but you have plenty of room to expand and get past the processor speed and the RAM and all that stuff that's on that single device. So don't get it twisted. If you need to run additional instruments without compromise on your speed and performance on the MPC, using external instruments is a way to free up your MPC to focus on the tight MIDI sequencing and sample playback that is foundational to the MPC. So instead of trying to make it do every single thing, you're not really getting the full experience of an MPC until you start using that MIDI as well. That's where you really can start to level it up and not have to worry about, oh, it doesn't have enough RAM. Oh, it doesn't have enough processing power. Listen, that 2000 XL didn't have a lot of processing power either. The 60 didn't have a lot of processing power either, and definitely didn't have a lot of RAM. MIDI, use MIDI. And there's tons of hardware keyboards and synthesizers and modular synths. That's another good thing about the MPC Live and the MPC One, is that you have the CV gate out options and whatnot, so you can hook up modular synths to it and whatnot. There's a ton of options out there for external synthesizers and keyboards and whatnot. So I'm not going to go through the list of that. But if you're on a budget, and you need something also that's a little bit portable, one thing I would consider is getting an iPad and using an app like Korg, Gadget, or Sample Tank to access more sounds. And I put a link in the video description if you want to check out some of the workflow and how to work that way. I definitely have been working that way for a long time, and I never saw the bottleneck of performance when I used my MPC One, because I used the MPC One with an iPad, and it's just like, yeah, I got plenty of power. If you add something like an iPad to the system, and iPads are silicon chip, processors now. They are very powerful now. I'm not even on a silicon iPad. I'm on a 2017 iPad, and I'm still getting what I need out of that. But if you get one of the latest ones, it's like you're flying. And that's something that you can easily MIDI up to your device and get it cracking. So yeah, I'll put a link in the video description if you want to check that out after this stream. But this is a way for you to expand and build tracks and not be just always asking Akai to build the device that does everything, as opposed to you understanding that you can build around this device and you can make up for where this device is lacking with how you design your studio. And that's what we talk about on this channel. That's a big thing on this channel, is that we're always talking about like different things that you can integrate into the studio to expand it and get a good workflow where things are working together. We're not just trying to consolidate here. I think that might be one of the fundamental differences between my channel and other channels, is that some channels here are trying to just talk about like how to make it all work on a single device. And I've always been about like, let's build a whole studio out. Let's build around this stuff. Let's make the hybrid studio. So I think that if you look at the MPC as a hub for different devices that you can connect to it, you won't run into so much of the bottlenecks that people talk about with the processor and the RAM and all that stuff, right? So keep in mind though, with the MPC One, MPC Live, they have some common failure points, and you need to consider that if you're going to buy one or if you're just going to keep the one that you have. There's some common failure points. So like one of the first ones, the internal battery. The internal battery is definitely a common failure point. I made a short about that already if you want to check that out. But essentially, if you're using the battery on an MPC Live and you want to take it around, you want to go to the beach. I know that burns some of y'all up when I say that too. Like, he's making, no, I mean, I showed you some pictures of me making beats at the beach with my iPad. I've done it, trust me. I just don't do it anymore because it wasn't really my thing at the end of the day. It was cool to stunt, but it wasn't really the thing. But anyhow, some of y'all do want to actually go to the park and to the beach and all that stuff, and that's cool. That's your prerogative. That battery is going to run out at a certain point, and then you're going to have to replace it. So that's going to be about $250 to replace that. So just have that on deck if you're going to use an old Live or an old Live II. Be ready for that. Another common failure point is that touchscreen. It's a touchscreen, and I have my reservations and my issues with the touchscreen. I know some of y'all love it and say, yeah, the touchscreen is just a game changer for the MPC, and for some use cases it is. But I watched some of the videos, y'all, like even on the new Live, I've watched some of the videos, and I'm watching people doing tutorials, and they're pressing the screen and they press it 1, 2, 3, 4 times before it actually responds, right? It's not the most responsive thing in the world. Let's be honest, let's be real, let's not sugarcoat it. I definitely have seen quite a few videos of people tap, 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 and not getting action or not getting it to do exactly what they want to do. And then, but it's a common failure point on any MPC. Let's not be crazy here. Every MPC is going to require a screen replacement at some point. And I've done quite a bit of replacement of screens for MPCs in the past, especially on the 2000 XL. I burnt out screens, had to replace them. It's a common failure point. So one of the things you just have to keep in mind is like, okay, that's another thing that I'm going to have to replace. So if you go over to like MPC stuff, that's a good place. That'll be one of your friends if you want to actually have your unit for long term. That's a good place. TFT here, 7-inch TFT assembly, $281. Not an arm and a leg, it's just money, right? It's just money. And it was similar with the 2000 XL. It'd be about $200, $250 to replace a 2000 XL screen. So just be prepared. Like, this is a common failure point as well on the MPC. especially on like the touchscreen ones, right? It's 281 is cheaper than buying a $1,600 device. Let's keep it a buck, right? Some of y'all crying. I see DJ Lucas. You either spend 281 or you gonna spend $1,800 on a new device. Which one? You let me know. But anyhow, with any music equipment, you should be prepared to maintain the gear and not just treat it like a disposable item, right? Don't just treat this stuff like a disposable item. This is why you can still find vintage gear in excellent condition, because it was well maintained by an owner that didn't simply disregard it and treat it like it was disposable when something new came up or when something went wrong with it. They didn't just say, let's just get something different now. Like, people fixed on things and maintained their products. And that's why you got studios where guys still got a MPC 60 that still works. Shout out to Born Shamir, right? Born Shamir got a MPC 60 still cracking. You know, how old is an MPC 60? Right? There's if you take care of your stuff, it'll last. It will last. But be prepared to take care of it. Don't just like treat it like a disposable thing just because something went out. Like, it's okay. We're going to have to get comfortable with opening these things up, repairing them, fixing what's wrong with them. And don't be so in a rush to just jump in and get the new thing. Because realistically, if you buy anything new right now, you are beta testing. You are part of the beta test until they stabilize the new platform. I don't care what it is. The MPC Live III, the Roland TR-1000, the Toneverk, it don't matter which one we talking about. You are going to be part of the beta until they stabilize the product. So never, ever, ever, ever get rid of your working device. The one that you said you was making beats on already, the one that you said you was banging out with and it was doing all that for you, then don't get rid of it just because something new came. Something that you haven't tested yet, right? So that being said, y'all, let me know. What are your thoughts? Are the MPC One and the MPC Live, the Live II, are those obsolete now? Now that the Live III is on the market? Or can you still get busy with the MPC One, the One Plus, the Live II? Can you still get busy with those? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. I'm gonna go to the chat for a little bit. We're gonna get it cracking for a little bit before we go over to the after show on Twitch. We're going to the after show on Twitch at 6 p.m. Central Time. So that's in about an hour and 10 minutes. But yes, appreciate y'all for listening and tapping in. Of course, if you're getting value from this, please hit the like button. It's 146 people in here. Yeah, if you're getting value out of this video, please hit the like button. If this helps you to make some decisions or give you some inspiration, please hit the like button. Support the channel that way. Appreciate y'all. I'm gonna get to the chat. Digital Diesel says not obsolete. Snipe Young, what's good with you? You said I'm gonna buy my son a Live II. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Yeah. I think that'll be a smart play for him, something that he can move around with, and you know, it has a battery. That would be dope. That would be dope. DJ Lucas D, he said, regrettably sold my Live II before OS V3 came out. Just got an MPC One and put 3.6 on it. Makes me wish I kept my Live II, although I like the One's buttons. See, and that's another thing, right? I definitely, the main reason I chose the One over the Live was because the button layout, because I thought it had the superior button layout over the two. And I know they've addressed that with, I guess, the Live III. And I know some of y'all don't like the button layout now, and heard a lot of complaints about how many buttons it has and all that stuff, and people talking about it's not the prettiest thing in the world. But hey, you got the buttons, right? But yeah, I think that was the thing with the one for me is that it had more buttons and more of the buttons that I needed to work because I didn't want to just be stuck with just hitting the touch screen. Because like I said, it's a failure point. So I knew anything that would require me to use the touch screen more was going to probably fail quicker. But I think for a child, and Snipe just mentioned a child, so they grew up in they are growing up in a touchscreen world. Everything, all the main devices that it probably interacting with are touchscreens. So it's going to be more natural for them to use a touchscreen than a device that has a lot of click buttons. They didn't grow up like us with speaking spells and Simon Says and all that stuff, right? So it's a whole different ball game. Let's see here. Get it Nard says capacitors. I sent my MPC One to the shop for new pads and they found my capacitors leaking. Good one, good one. That's another one. And I mean, any device will have potential capacitor issues. That's a very common failure point as well. Vintage synths all the time have capacitor issues, so that's very common on electronics. So appreciate the share on that one. That's another one to keep in mind with these devices is capacitor issues. Ruffian Kick says, and this is why I refuse. I'll wait till October 2026. You're talking about beta testing, I think. Yeah, I hear you. That one beat says I've been having issues with the iPad plus MPC workflow. I have to deal with lumbar offset to record the MPC, and MPC 3.6 only syncs with Ableton Sync. Interesting. Interesting. Not sure exactly what the root of that is, but I'd have to know a bit more about your setup to understand what are some fail points, what are some potential bottlenecks in the system. Yeah, if you want to do a consultation with me, you're welcome to do so. But yeah, I'm not sure, and I can't troubleshoot it on live today. But if you want to reach out, I'm happy to set up some time to work with you because I think there's a lot of different considerations when you're working with MIDI devices in general, and then I think some people may have different concepts around synchronization and how to track things, and I can give you some different ideas that may not even require these archaic synchronization methods like MTC and MMC and whatnot, because sometimes those can be a pain. And we've done tests on this platform to show some of the issues with that, with the MPC 2000 XL specifically. So reach out if you need some additional help. Let's see here. Heathcliff says I replaced all switches on my 60. Now it's like brand new. That's what's up, man. Good stuff. Yep, tack switches are another fail point for sure. You're eventually gonna have to replace tack switches because those buttons, those click buttons and whatnot, those are the tack switches, and at some point they will give out. So that's a good one. Digital Diesel says right. If it's disposable, you might as well just use VSTs. We're better than that, fellas. Absolutely. And I think the reason I wanted to also have this conversation, I want you guys to not lose the technicality of the craft here, because I think MPCs are kind of moving into more of this Apple domain where it's kind of like limited all in one, like very specific IO designed for like the consumer. And I think certain skill sets get lost when we move into that direction because, I experienced this myself, like being on Apple for so long. And it's like, man, when's the last time you opened up a PC for real? I had a Mac Pro, so I was using that. And my Mac Pro, definitely you can open it up, put PCI cards, memory, all that stuff, right? But these new devices like the MacBook Pros and the Mac Studio and the Mac Mini and all that stuff is kind of just a consolidated thing where very minimal things you can do to like upgrade it. And, it's kind of designed for you to just get a new thing at a certain point. And I don't want us to lose this technicality of drum machines and synthesizers, it's okay to open them up. It's okay to service them yourself even. I shout out to Langston from Handsome Audio. I had a really good conversation with him this week. And he said some things that really helped me to double down on my stance here with this community. And like I told True Sound Creators yesterday, what Langston said to me was that hip hop is one of the most technically advanced genres out there because of the amount of technicality that we have to use to make music on these devices. It is far more complex in terms of technicality to set up a studio where all of these things are networked and talking to each other and working with the computer and understanding how to address all these different machines and edit audio and receive audio and deal with a program or a programming based environment like an MPC, because you're literally programming drums and programming synth and MIDI into this sequencer, right? So you're writing a program of a sequence essentially into that particular device. It's a very, very technical craft when you start talking about hip hop, house to techno to drum and bass to definitely any of these genres that rely heavily on MIDI based sequencers and samplers and whatnot are very technical. But let's not forget that we are in a technical craft. Okay? Don't lose sight of that and don't lose the skill set. Because those of you that participate in this, especially doing hip hop, have to understand this is a technical domain. It is not just a simple. It's not a simpleton craft at all. It's as much as some people want to try to paint it as being something that is not intelligent, intellectual, or not complex. It is very complex. It is very technical, and it requires a technical mindset. And I would say those that do it at a very high level are just as skilled as a network engineer or other types of engineers that have to design massive setups that communicate with each other. So I think you guys have a lot more skill sets that are being implemented through this craft than some of you guys give yourselves credit for. And then some of you guys that are just new and haven't dug into it, I'm telling you now, it is a technical thing. So be ready for digging into the technicality of it. Don't run away from it, and don't pray that Akai, please Akai, add another feature so I don't have to get technical. No, that's not the art form. That's not the craft. It's not the craft. The craft is ingenuity. The craft is technicality. The craft is very much inventive. Right? So don't be always thinking that Akai or Native Instruments or whatever company, Arturia, Electron, don't look for them to save you. Invent, create, innovate. And with that being said, we're going to get ready to head over to the after show over on Twitch. We're going to head over to the after show at 6 p.m. Central Time, so in about an hour. So I appreciate y'all for tapping in as always. Make sure you follow me on Twitch, man. The after show, we're gonna get it cracking. It's a little bit more of a looser vibe. I'm communicating much more with the chat on Twitch because it's just that type of vibe. It's that type of setup. So head on over to Twitch in about an hour. I'm looking forward to hanging out with y'all, chopping up some more. Let's get it cracking. Appreciate everybody that's tapped in for this past hour, man. I've enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully you got some value out of this conversation. If you did, hit the like button. Make sure that you tell a friend about this Altruwest channel that is growing. We're on the road to 16K subscribers. Not that subscribers really matter, but I appreciate subscribers from the perspective of that is a lot of people that have invested to click the like button or click the subscribe button, I should say, on my channel. So I appreciate everybody that's been tapping in. As always, let's get it cracking. I just want to tell y'all until next time, peace and God bless.